Hello, dear viewers. We're in our second show in a series of shows, The Solution, where we're reading from Kabbalist writings, The Last Generation. We have Rav Laitman here with us, and we're going to talk about the writings. Hello to all the friends with me here in the studio. To summarize what we spoke about in the previous show, Kabbalist was talking about the socialist approach, and I'm quoting him. And I have to admit that the socialist way, the concept of equal distribution, I see it as good. Let's divide among us the work and the fruits equally. Can you please summarize briefly these two ideas, this approach Kabbalist had? Briefly, I'm not sure, but we'll develop it more as we go along. First of all, just understand, economics is simply what helps us to live, not that it's life itself. So we have to see how we arrange the economy to this process that humanity is going through in its development. We see that every time it develops, in accordance, the economy is always changing. The method itself, the wisdom. This is how we have to see it now, because suddenly I see people that I'm speaking to about economy, that they're holding on with their teeth to what they have, and humanity can go whichever direction they want. We're holding on to our method, and that's it. There's like a approach, unhealthy, like a childish even approach, like a kid holding on to his pacifier or his toy, and he doesn't want to let go of it. That's the impression I get from the behavior of the economists today. Economy should be to help us to arrange our systems of our life from the creation of all the things that are necessary and the rest of things that we distribute. But it has to help us to live, and not that we are serving it, but it serves us. According to the wisdom of Kabbalah, which I see everything from that perspective, we are now going through a very serious upgrade in our society's life it's unprecedented. We see that we've truly advanced, and we're advancing further to situations that are, there was never anything like it before. It's the perception of reality, the world, quantum physics. Everything is talking about the new world that a person goes through inside. It's an upgrade, a new upgrade in our perception of reality. And it's unusual. It doesn't look realistic, but it is actually the realistic part. Lately, I've been in touch with many of my physicist friends who are experts in quantum physics, and they understand me perfectly. They say, right, it's exactly what we understand from physics, which is such a strong science about our life. Everybody depends on it. And they say, yes, the world is multifaceted. We only see a single angle. There's many more angles. And now we need to make a transition from looking at the world in a superficial way, like a 2D to a 3D perspective, or even infinite perspective. And it's a different approach. Our brain and the whole way we grasp things, it all has to go through a special upgrade, and we're advancing towards it. So society is getting into a crisis to push us, at the end of the day, to this new perspective, to this new feeling, to this infinite, complete world where we live, and we don't simply see one format, but it's made up of many different shades and approaches. Physics said this, psychology says this. We're not in it yet. Humanity isn't in it yet, but we're coming toward it. So there's a problem in explaining what Kabbalist says about socialism, because he's not a socialist. what they were trying to make him guilty of, the English mandate government, when he put out the paper, the Nation. People told on him and they closed down the paper. In the situation, the new situation that we have to reach, society is balanced, everyone's connected, everyone's dependent on each other in a nice mutual manner. Everyone will live in an equal manner, connected nicely. It looks like a dream, but it's not a dream. And as socialism, it's not socialism. It's just the laws of nature that are coming and beginning to be revealed and are obligating us to this format. To me, it's understandable what he means. And to explain that it's not close to the social system, he's trying to explain what his intention is. It has nothing to do with politics, or he's not a political person. He's looking at it from the angle of Kabbalah, from the perception of reality, the advanced one. And from there, he's talking to us. In the advanced reality, we have to be, one man is one heart. We have to be in one single analog system, like we are now discovering. In our world, we have the beginning of the complete and full interdependence, where all people will feel everyone. They'll feel inside. Look what an upgrade we have to go through to feel everyone as if they are in one body. Just as I feel my body as some block, one system, that's how I need to feel all of reality entirely. Vegetative, inanimate, the whole universe, and even beyond the universe. I have to feel that it's all me. The perception of man, the widening of his mind, that's how it'll go. It looks not realistic, or it has to happen in our time, and we have to understand where we're going. If the economy goes in that direction, and even slightly faster than regular people in the street understand, then it will help us to get through these stages in a nice, pleasant manner. If not, then we will advance through inner pressures and pressures of nature, the general crisis, disasters, etc. And the economy will still need to adjust itself to the formats that will come out of there'll be no choice. It's not a desirable development. If we want to talk about the future economy, what Kabbalah is presenting as the future society, when you explain the socialist thing at the end of the last show, you were talking about salary. You said to be part of the system, he has to have police over him. Things have to be divided equally. To be an integral part of this, he has to receive a certain salary. First, he has to receive education. Otherwise, the world no longer exists. He finished developing through the development of the ego and competition in one another, and that was the desirable format, because that allowed us to develop, and so each one developed individually, like wheat. The coming out of the ground, we rose to the upward, and now we have to be together. And this together is the trend. Whoever wants to grow more than he is now, he'll fall. And we'll see it in the tycoons and also in the small people. Advancement now is only toward connection with others. You want to grow? Good. but only with the new approach, with connection. And that will be the profit, the salary? Yes, that will be the salary, because it will be an inner salary for your soul. In the human level in your human level, in the animal level, your animal part of you will get what it needs, just like in nature. In nature, you get just what you need. The law of nature works in a way that an animal doesn't eat twice. It eats just what it needs and leaves what it doesn't need and goes on. That's how it is. And we have to also reach a distribution, partition between the body and the soul, that development. And we're now dealing with the spiritual development of man. And the body, what can we do? The economy is working to develop more and more and more, but a man doesn't need any more than that. We got into this crazy thing. We made too much stuff. We have such egoistic development that we don't know what to do with it. And then we have this lack of balance that half the world is starving and half the world doesn't know what to do with the surplus. How much longer can this go on? Can you explain how can we develop in relation to others? We have to understand that this is what we see from nature, the fact that we're connected to one another. It's just the beginning of the iceberg. And inside it, the revelation of the law that all of nature is one system and no one is free at all compared to others, and a person's entire freedom is in developing to be in harmony with others. It might seem paradox, like a paradox, because one deletes the other, but my development can be infinite. But in what? To the extent that I'm in harmony with others. And when I get into harmony with others, from my desire, I begin to feel this harmony filling me and giving me the feeling of infinity, the infinite life, this feeling of existence without boundaries. And my body has nothing to do with it. I serve it, I feed it, give it as much as it needs, as much as I live in it, as much as it lives next to me, my animal. But it's actually helping me to exist for a certain extent until I acquire this connection with others so that I'm there in my psychology. And then my body dies. I don't feel that it dies. It's sort of being cancelled. It leaves and stays back there somewhere until it disappears. And I live in my connection with others, that my body, instead of being corporal, becomes spiritual, and my connection with other people becomes my body, where there's a new flow of relations between us, which is called the spiritual body and spiritual life. That's what we're arriving at. And that will be revealed by the pace I'm seeing very quickly. So it would be worth it for us to see this picture that my friends, my quantum physics friends, these professors, it started with Einstein, even slightly before, this whole attitude. And physicists discovered that they are on the same track as Kabbalah is talking about. They advanced, and now they understand that the same format that we are describing to them is clear to them. It's clear to them that they have this format in the world, but now we just have to discover it. We reached our development to discover it, and now we have a problem with these economists. How can they also get to the same conclusion? First there was Newton's law, that the world exists as we see it. And our corporal, the way we grasp things, I feel what I feel. That's it. Then came Einstein's theory and Rosen, Hugh Everett. They started discovering the world. If we see one page in a book and there's other pages and other pages, we don't see them. The entire shape of other worlds we don't see. And now we're coming to see another shape, until we see all of reality. That's quantum physics. It's not somewhat modern anymore. He said it in the 50s. Einstein was even before that. Einstein, Rosa Podolsky, all the smart ones, especially Jews. These things, Kabbalists in the whole world, all scientists in psychology, whether he understands it or not, he's using it. You say economists cannot grasp what's happening. Yeah, you know what they have in there. They just have dollars in front of their faces, but they will have to still understand a few principles they need to understand, nothing more. We see that if we don't go towards this approach, I can send you articles that they wrote for regular people. These physicists, not psychologists. I'm talking about physicists, people that stand on their 2 feet, and they're in it for decades. But now they understood it, but they didn't speak about it, or they spoke about it as like the stuff as a teaser. But now, because it's a crisis, they're starting to come out and talk about it in a practical manner, just like we are. I see how from both sides we're coming together to one direction. They write about it in a very clear manner. We should take from there not all their wisdom. They have formulas and it's terrible. It's very difficult. I don't understand anything. But results. Their results and the results of the wisdom of Kabbalah are really the same. Because when we receive the future format, let's see how we can implement it. What is the economy of the new humanity? Maybe in this connection, since you spoke about physicists and economists, let's see quote number 4. It is worthwhile to lend the ear of the inquisitive. Why would a politician, a member of the socialist movement, not do as that physicist who, when faced with impairments in the interpretation he was accustomed to, the iron laws of his theory, did not deter from washing his hands of it? That's exactly what they went through. They were very, very frustrated from the beginning of the century and right up to the 50s, 70s. Then they started getting used to the fact that the world is not exactly what our senses feel. They started with all kinds of equations and then all kinds of experiments and with lights and things. The attributes of the light, that it comes in waves, quantums. They went through many changes. But what's good about physics is that if they are facing a fact, they don't delete the fact, they delete themselves. But economists are another story. Because it's not a science. That's the difference. I'm not kidding. We'll get to it we'll get to it later. We're talking about the solution by Bala Sulam in the book The Last Generation. After he explained the socialist idea, he talks about it. After all, what joy have even the millionaires among us from their property, if not the great confidence in their sustenance for themselves and for their children several generations ahead? In a government of just division, they will have also great confidence, even to a greater extent. If you say that they will not have the prior reverence they had as property owners, that too is nothing, for they will certainly find all that power that they have acquired as property owners on another field, as the gates of competition will never be locked. What's natural and characteristic of a person is to be advancing and competing and searching, checking himself against society. All that will remain, that I want to control people, jealousy, all those attributes. I wasn't given them for nothing from nature, but it's to advance. But the only question is, where do I take them to? What advancement? For our good or for our detriment? The moment we discover we're one system, if I'm doing it for my good apparently, but for the bad of the entire environment, the damage becomes much greater. Because I'm damaging the general, and the general is made up of many people like me. And in that way I cause something to everyone that's coming back to me on a single person. Look, imagine how much I suffer. That's why in the integral system, which is being revealed now, it does not depend on us. It will be revealed at its own pace. If we don't understand this, we're going to get blows, and these tycoons, these strong, powerful people who like to manage things and take advantage of people, they will suffer very much. We're not interested in anyone suffering. Just the opposite. Those people that are managing society today, because they're rich, they should remain like that, great influencers of society. But they must already have a different perspective of doing things for the society, because we're in the integral society. We need to change things a bit in the brain, and that depends on preparation. Like Kabbalist Dr says, first we have to sit down at the bench, the school bench. I'm trying to understand what competition is in the integral system. What? In everything. In everything, great. But just not in things that in that you're harming society. So where will the competition come out? Only there. No, it's expressed everywhere in life. No, I'm telling you again. For the sake of the society, everyone should be in competition as much as possible. So actually, how can we have that without hating the other person, that I'm competing with him? I want to do good for the society, and why hatred? Because it's like opposition. Why should it be opposition? Because the jealousy. If he has that, that's great. It says, but that's good. It says that jealousy brings people out of this world to a higher level. So great. Let him do that. I can be in competition with you and want you to succeed. Today I'm in competition with somebody, and I don't want him to succeed. How will it work in the integral world? If you know that our success, let's say we're in the jungle, 5 people. We have to reach a goal. It depends on the success of the group. To the extent that each person gives more, we will succeed. You want us to contribute more? If that will save us from all our problems on the way? So everyone wants to contribute? Yes. Everyone wants to be more than everyone? Everyone wants to advance society and himself for society. So what's the problem? You still don't feel it because you're not in it. Ludi, I don't want we have to do this through workshops, but we have to see that all these gates are not closed. Control and competition, jealousy, hatred. You're only starting to direct it to yourself, to himself, that I for myself am beginning to hate in myself all the things that are not directing me correctly, perhaps, toward the society. Because if I'm an integral part of society, there's no more options to think about something else. Imagine to yourself that we're all dependent on each other. What's there to talk about? How can there be hatred for me to others if we're in some sort of state, threatening state, and we're dependent on everyone? I don't have words. So a necessary condition is that there has to be a situation that if we don't do it for the sake of everyone, then we come apart. We don't come apart. We end. We don't get out of the jungle. So there has to be some understanding in humanity that we're in a jungle and we have no choice. Either we'll put it in everyone's face so they'll understand it clearly that it's really happening, or if not, then we're truly in the jungle. So you'll have a tsunami, they have volcanoes, and all kinds of other natural disasters and inner wars and everything. You'll have a jungle. There's no question. Either this way or that way, because this jungle you're making from the bad arrangement, the way you arrange things. If there's no competition, there will never be violence, only the goal, only for the sake of myself, apparently, or society. I want to touch this issue of the millionaires. Bala Sulam understood that his equal distribution, just distribution, it's not for nothing that he's talking about the millionaires. He knows that this approach will be problematic for the millionaires. Why? Because now they feel that they have power and money, and in a society where everyone's connected to each other, this is what we must learn. The integral education especially is to penetrate into a person's heart and mind. What is a system that I'll see it, that it exists, that it's a single system where everyone's dependent on each other. You can't take one thing out, everything will fall. You can't damage one person because it will hurt the whole system and come back to you 1,000,000 times over than if you... The lack of balance that you caused in 1 millimeter in the system, it's all connected in an integral manner, and it comes out of balance. I don't know what number to give, but it all comes back to you. You're in fear. You're in under threat. Just imagine how you have to guard yourself not to damage and to be effective. This you have to give people as a clear picture. Of course, with the addition of all the different formats that are being revealed to us from the nature that we're in. I'm telling you, I can't convey to you my feeling, my excitement, but when I see what's happening in the world, with all the tycoons, not the tycoons. The tycoons are your problem. My problem is how nature is starting to be against us. Look what's happening more and more. It's starting to close in on us from all sides and from inside. How the millions of people going out to work, how everything we built is coming apart, how everything's starting no longer in the right connection. The whole world is starting to sink. Soon you'll see empty offices and factories standing and people at home with nothing to do, and young people after a few years what they'll do without work. Do you understand what what happens with all these people that have nothing to do. It's terrible. And all this happens in the world. We don't need natural disasters. This is a disaster in itself. This is what you'll come to in a few years. I don't know. In Israel, we have at the border across from the fence, we have a few Africans. We'll have tons. They'll come from all sides. And what are you going to do with them? What kind of disasters do you need? It's very close. Bala Sulam says that in a government of just division, they will also have great confidence. What do they need now? We spoke about it in the previous shows. A person lives from his inner filling, the filling of his soul. The fact that I have in the bank 1 plus 10 zeros. Yeah, believe me. Do you believe it? Believe it. What does it give me? This money is not in my pocket. Clear, right? You understand that. You're economists. It's factories, it's oil, it's ships, commerce, telephone companies, and companies that supply things in supermarkets and fashion and all those things. And all this is distributed. If you ask me what I have $1 million a year. I don't know how much, but whatever I need. But I don't really actually. All those millions that he has 2 billion, 50 billion, doesn't matter. Where is it? At the end of the day, it's in all those investments. And is it his? What is it? What is his? Only the inner feeling that I'm the owner, that I'm managing it, and nothing else. In other words, what a person has is the filling of his soul, psychological, that I am the owner of the world, that I acquire everything, people respect me, they feel that I have power. That's it. A feeling like this. Nothing else. He can take out $100, like they don't, but let's say he can allow himself to take $100 out and give it to some waiter. Great. He can eat in some fancy restaurant, golf, yachts, whatever you say. At the end of the day, does he have inner satisfaction? I've seen him in all those things. It's all very sad. But he says that he has enjoyment. He has enjoyment, inner enjoyment in his spiritual and not material. It's not in material. Why does being rich give a person confidence? Because it appears to him that he has for now and for a few generations forward enough for him and his family to exist. He can't control death. By the way, in the method that we're talking about, we rise above life and death. He can't skip over death, but for sure, he won't be short of anything in what there is. What do you mean they're rising above life and death? In our method, where he's connecting himself with the masses, with reality, with all of nature, then he's rising above life and death, because life and death we feel in our body. And here we're going to the system outside the body, the integral system, which is, like I said, the connection between us is our body, and the flow, the mutual flow between all of us is the force of life, the spiritual. That's what we are reaching. In our body that dies, we don't feel any loss. I don't understand the connection. We said that millionaires have confidence in this world and for their children and their grandchildren. I'm saying in our system, They have confidence in this world because they live in a balanced society that looks after all their friends. And what does a person need for his body? Like an animal that knows how to look after itself in a balanced manner. Healthy food, etc., that suits our animal body. And beyond that, these people that are connecting with each other, they're acquiring the spiritual infinite life. They're going on to the next level of life. They're not living inside their bodies, but rather living in the connection between people, and in the connection between people in a mutual manner, that they are acquiring the attribute of bestowal, where they're beginning to feel life that is called spiritual life. The life of bestowal, which is an infinite life. It has nothing to do with time, place, movement that we have at the egoistic level. And that is what's going to replace wealth that we feel today? No, it's way more than that. There's no replacement for wealth. The money that he has to give up, he'll get much more compensation from society itself even without the spiritual degree. Today, he's always in a feeling of frustration, fear of going bankrupt, all kinds of numbers and all kinds of stock exchanges. Each day things are more uncertain and less calm. He's no longer in competition with each other, with other people, but he's trying to think how to survive the blows which are coming from all sides. You think just Tshuva or Dankner have problems. The other ones don't have problems. It's all clear. It's all just a matter of time. It will all come apart. So instead of that, you give him a feeling of life, a feeling of calmness, of freedom, instead of those pressures. I remember how Gindi burned himself. You were young. It was like 35 years ago. He had a penthouse in Rishon, and he burned himself in the pool, on the roof of the building, fancy building, the pool. Next to the pool, he burned himself. It's a known story. You can hear it from the old-timers. People are under very big pressure. It's not a happy thing. Running around and the stress. On the outside, to the simple person, it's always, but this competition that they're enjoying, it remains. This action remains. You have everything except that negative stress. The threat of not succeeding. Take all the good things with you and leave just the fears and anxiety. And everything that you have, confidence, you have full confidence. Nowadays, what confidence do you have? That they'll kill you, that they'll do this to you, that to you, that there'll be protests around the world, millions of people unemployed. How will you be proud? What will you be proud of? People have less and less to be proud of with this whole crisis. They feel very uncomfortable. But still, the opinion of society is good and everything. What wealthy people? In one day, it becomes less than the paper it's printed on. All this money, because we understand that there's nothing behind it, behind the bills. What will he eat? Some expensive painting that he has, or gold. the food will be the valuable thing. We spoke in the previous show about equality, that not everyone in nature is born with the same attributes. So where's the place for those wealthy people? Where's their place in the new society? What roles will they have? The same place. I would respect them and hold on to them and beg them to stay. That everyone stay in their place. They know how to manage. What are you going to take some cleaner, some factory worker to manage things? Of course not. In government office, it's another story. There, that's just politics, protectionism. But those that, with their own hard work, became huge managers in industry, commerce. What difference does it make if he's a millionaire or a billionaire or not? He's a person that knows how to manage, that knows how to see things. He just needs a bit of an understanding what's happening in society, what system is working now, what rules are working. He will grasp it quickly. So you mean that management ability that he has, will this help him in the new system? Of course, of course. Nothing has to change. Why do we have to change anything? A completely new system, new rules. But these urges, this power, this urge to be the big, understanding, the controlling, the changing, influencing, these things don't exist in every person. It's very respectful. The economists, no, not the economists. That's a question how much brains they have to grasp the new system and to bend themselves to it, to bend themselves to the new conditions, to develop a new economy. But managers, of course. Apart from that, I'll say there's not great changes in management. There's only a change in the result. For the sake of what? But the fact that I have to manage the factory and there's workers and I have to put everyone in their place and in the big companies, etc. It's the same networks. If I'm talking about the management of part of my body, then it's operating at the optimum to get to be effective, but not to eat others, but to be in sync with the other parts in the body. And that's how we connect with each other. There's competition, but again, there's competition between the tycoons, just like the competition between people, how much it contributes to the general society. But the competition to get the most out of production, all that remains. I would beg them, okay, you're bankrupt? No problem. Keep working. Look what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Just the opposite. We appreciate you. We respect you. Stay in your place. So you mean the millionaires will remain millionaires when there's equal distribution? No, they'll remain managers. Instead of millions, they'll have satisfaction of having more that's worth more than millions. Most people that reach their status did not come through management. They came from taking advantage of opportunities. Taking advantage of economies is usually based on taking advantage of weaknesses of others and getting the maximum out of it. Let's say it's really like that. I got from a rich uncle $1 billion. And now with that $1 billion, I got a company. But I'm doing something with it. I'm doing something with the money. You can say, no, you're not doing anything. You have other people. But I'm taking those people. I chose those people. I'm still the one directing them, managing them. I'm doing something. Or if I have a factory, through the experts in the factory, I have engineers and managers, but above them is me sitting and pressuring them. There's still something happening here. Even if it's coming to me in a hard way. I'm still in this system. It's dependent on me. I'm not interrupting them with all my millions. I took a few people, they're managers. I'm not doing anything. I still have the brain not to interfere, not to disrupt them, but just to get from there my share. There's nothing that there's no such thing as a person, a wealthy person, very wealthy person is not doing anything. That it just is happening next to him. He's still involved in some process, in some connection. I really respect these people because no matter what, they are special people compared to all the rest who has a place at the market or some factory worker. They know how to relate properly to forces, human forces, and get out of them the effectiveness. We just have to change the goal for what are we getting this profit out of, this usefulness. Where do we need to see it for the sake of the environment, society? I don't understand why in all your equations and calculations, the stock exchange where you measure everything, increases, decreases, why can't you exchange one element for another? Take usefulness for society, connection between us, mutuality, to the extent of the balance in society, the balance with nature, calmness, human calmness, and based on that, examine how effective it is. Because this is how it's starting to happen, whether we want it or not. Why is this crisis happening? It's starting to clean everything up. Because from the nature side, this management is already happening, but we can't upgrade ourselves to it in a healthy way. Most of these people are characterized. They can manage things in a non-emotional way, but you're talking about a system where I have to be considerate of others. I have to be emotionally involved. No. Take the usefulness, the balance of society as the equation that equals maximum, and that's what they're striving toward. And he cares of nothing else. Doesn't matter. He doesn't take people into consideration or anything. He's only thinking about the greatest social effectiveness. According to that, you verify how much he's worth in the market and the stock exchange, each and every company, based on that. But he has to take into account how much CO2 is being released, how much waste, how many people were fired, each and everything. But altogether, is being checked how he manages his company in a balanced manner. And according to that, that's his worth. You spoke about the integral system of infinite connections and mutual influence. You said, how can he feel it? I see it in front of his eyes. I think by a few parameters we can in the meantime, because we're not being required to jump to some feeling of the end of correction. We can make a calculation like we already have. I don't know it. Green technologies, green industry. I don't want to take it as an example, but take a few parameters. Like in our work, Balasuram also writes that we have to make an example from some country where it will be balanced, a small country. Let's make it a balance between everyone. Give a minimum wage. And look after everyone more or less. We don't need to think about 1,000 parameters. Let's allow success now, not how many dollars I made now, but compared to the previous quarter, but rather to what balance in society I arrived through looking at a few elements compared to the previous quarter in my company. Like, what are the things you would measure? Okay, like, what can you say that I succeeded? That everyone gets the same salary, that everyone gets all kinds of benefits to live at a normal standard, and all the rest to the extent that we build our environment, our society, like some factory, housing, everything that we have there, to the extent that we build it in a balanced way and social way between us. Simple things, socialistic things. But in socialism, there's socialism that is anti-capitalist, like we have in America, and we have socialism like in the Scandinavian model, or like in Russia, or the kibbutzes. There's all different kinds. We need to understand which type we're talking about, that it's for the good of the entire nation. And this creation of this city, would it make it matching the system being revealed and create this feeling? Yes. And at the end of the day, we'll reach balance, but balance at the corporal and spiritual level. In spirituality, no one's equal to another. Everyone has tons of options to develop, and we're all in we're in a system where we're learning about this system, and we're developing more and more all the time. But in corporality, whatever our animal body needs, it receives. What's the problem? And again, just look what's happening today already with us on the planet. You'll see that we are already being drawn towards it without a choice by the forces of nature. We're being drawn to it. There's no choice. But when we're drawn by the fact that we're getting a blow here and we don't know where to run until we get another blow and another blow, and that's how we open our eyes and see what's happening. No one says to you, now you have to do something. You don't know anything. Just start seeing where you are. Today, the socialist democratic methods in the world there's like very high taxes. They take from the wealthy. I don't want to speak about it. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about methods that are called in this world socialist democratic. It's all rubbish. Because you're taking a egoistic society, capitalistic society, and how they call themselves in some, warped way, Republican, Democratic, Socialist, Nationalist. It's all one big rubbish. It's an egoistic society. It's egoistic society. Everyone's only thinking about themselves. I don't even want to discuss it. There are social services more than in any other capitalist country. Relatively, there's no inclination to equality. It's in opposition to the law of nature, and that's why I don't want to speak about it, because that's not the goal. That's in front of us from nature. You understand that there's evolution, evolutionary development. And we need to reach a state where we are in balance with nature on this earth, a single standard of living for everyone around the whole world. Until you reach that, you cannot get away from the blows. That's it. And don't bring me democratic, socialistic, I don't care. If we're not being drawn toward this, it doesn't matter what they call themselves. They're not on the path. What can you do? What difference does it make? More tax, less tax. You work more, you work less. Everyone, through the blows, will reach the new system. Through the blows, they'll get there. These and these and these, because the egoistic society is just for the filling each individual's ego. The development in this direction can no longer happen. You can see there will be no development. Development on the side of the ego, filling the ego, will no longer work. We've reached a state that we reached in our development, a point where that's it. You can't fill it anymore. With each passing year, even each passing month, you'll feel to what extent people are consuming things that are not basic necessities, not because of money, but because our entire life will go in a way that they don't have money, that these things will just disappear from the world, that through wars and everything implodes, you'll only be left with basic necessities, that you will need to distribute it to everyone, otherwise they'll eat you. If tomorrow at lunchtime you don't give lunch to your workers, they will take you and butcher you and eat you. I'm talking seriously. That's how it is. What will you do? You understand that there's a limit how much we can play. We will no longer be able to advance in society. In this egoistic society, the ego is no longer developing. We can see it's no longer receiving filling. It stopped receiving filling 70 years ago, when this general depression, desperation started in the world. Why do I each time I'm more shocked how much you want to hold on as tight as possible to the old system that's no longer working? What can we do? What do you get out of it? Just tell me. Well, I don't, but we're out of time. That's that's another thing, that we don't run out of time. Dear viewers, thank you very much. We're at the end of another show, The Solution, where together we're learning from the writings of Bala Sulam, the last generation. Thank you, Rev. Laitman. Thank you to our friends in the studio. Be with us in the next program.